Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Kevin Jackson here, back from Washington, D.C., where I attended CPAC. Yeah, it was an amazing event. Obviously, President Trump spoke there, and the media was all over. It was crazy. And you know what's funny about the whole thing? By the way, it's Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255. What was cool about it was how President Trump continually touts the media. He taunts them. He'll go, yeah, you know, those guys back there, yeah, they hate me. They don't like me. They don't, you know, and he taunts them. And they continue to film because, boy, let me tell you, they were riveted. Let me tell you the outtakes of CPAC. For me, it's much the same. They highlight a few people who are going to get them the most sunshine. And you got to agree with that. I saw my buddy Dan Bongino. Dan's doing great. He comes up to me, Kev, I see you everywhere, dude. What's up? And I'm like, shut up, Dan. You see me everywhere. This dude has been on Fox, I mean, practically every day. And good for him, man. He's got the number 2 radio broadcast. He says 2 million listeners to his radio per month, his radio show per month. That's major market. That's like being in, say, 40 major markets, because a major market is about 50,000 listeners in a market. At least 20 major markets. That's the kind of numbers. And congratulations to him. Shapiro's number 1. Don't know what his numbers are because it's probably 5 million. It's probably a big gap between him and Dan. And shouldn't be, because Dan's riveting, sharp dude. Man, he was thick. He was working out. So have I been by the way. But we were talking about it. He's like, yeah, man, these people calling me out on Twitter, Kev, wanting to fight. He goes, I'm 6'1", 225. And you could tell he'd been in the gym. And I said, well, I'm not as big as you, but when they call me out, I ask them all the time, where are you? Shoot. And Dan was mad because somebody had called him out on Twitter. You know, like, oh, I wish I was there to beat your butt. And Dan was like, I wish you were too. So we rapped about a lot of stuff. And he's looking forward to the rest of this year as I am, because we got the Democrats on the ropes. If CPAC taught you anything, it's that conservatives are united like you wouldn't believe. And let me tell you something. The youngsters, they were all over the place. Now, you could say, well, Kevin, that's just a representative group of a small amount of people. Okay, fine. They're always the naysayers. Folks, the temperature of the water has changed in D.C. and around the country. Donald Trump speaks to the lower level, the people that normally don't get the news from Trump. They see what's going on. We are exposing scandal after scandal. A good example, the Parkland shooting. I'm listening to CNN, and of course, Mary Catherine Ham, she's on there giving some very good logical reasoning behind this shooting. But there are other CNN people going, John King said, you know, look, you can look at all the issues around guns and all these other things, but let's face it, this is not just a gun issue. This is a system breaking down issue. We'll play that when we come back. We'll play a few clips of this stuff because we got a lot to talk about. But what I do want to talk about is this, because everybody's asking me, first of all, Kevin, did you speak at CPAC? I did not. I ran into Matt Schlapp after the fact and said, Matt, what's up? And he looked at me, oh, Kev. And I'm like, you know, and I didn't talk to him because he's busy, you know, signing autographs to people asking him what's going on. But I said, let's talk after the fact, because I want to know why there's so many panels and so many great discussions we should be having. And I was talking to people about, you know, abortion and gun control and all these different things from a real solutions point of view. And I'm not kidding you guys. I'm not saying this for any other reason, because I believe God speaks to me in this particular manner. And people were just like, I've never heard that. That's an amazing way to put that. Oh my gosh, they start taking notes. I mean, these are big time politicos that hadn't heard what I've said about these topics. And so I'll get back with Matt on this. But then I get a note from a friend of mine. Kevin, we missed you at the White House invitation for Black History Month. You know, and so where were you? And I'm like, where was I? I checked my mail. I didn't get one. Now, am I upset that the White House didn't send me, the great Kevin Jackson, an invitation for Black History Month? No, I don't celebrate Black History Month. But, you know, just the idea that there's a group of people that are ignoring our work. It's frustrating. Had a meeting with a buddy of mine up there, very powerful black Republican. He's been in this fight for decades. This dude is so sharp on policy and how to stop folks from, how to use the information we have against the left. And I'll give you an example. We have the 50-year anniversary of the shooting of Martin Luther King, the death of Martin Luther King Jr. I can guarantee you the Republicans have nothing planned for this. Now, when you say, Kevin, why would you plan something for the death of Martin Luther King? I want you to stop for a second and ask yourself, when is the best time to attack the left? Is it on Martin Luther King's birthday, or is it when some crazed Democrat, some racist Democrat shot an icon? You starting to get it? See, we miss these things. We miss the opportunities to remind people who did it. You want to get into the black community? Tell them this crazy white Democrat shot and killed your icon. And you know what? Nobody wants you to know that happened. Nobody talks about that birthday. By the way, the 50th anniversary of it. This is what we got to start focusing on. People, Kevin, what should we do to just get in the black community? Well, hello. Is this thing on? That's what you do. You remind people of the heinous acts of the left. How many of these things have we overlooked? By the way, the person who Coretta Scott King called in to eulogize her, to sit with her husband after he had died, to sit with her and understand it, will be part of an event that we're putting together for this. But I just want you to understand this is where we are. Back to the CPAC. What was the most powerful thing? Obviously, the president showing up. But here was the biggest issue. Donald Trump's ease. I've seen his speeches. This guy has got a year under his belt, and he even said, he goes, hey, we got a year. Now we kind of know what we're doing. Think about this, the year this man has had. And he's going, I'm finally kind of settling into the job. I get it. Biggest fear that the left should have taken from that event was Donald Trump saying, I'm starting to understand this. Everybody else is talking about a bunch of other stuff. The biggest fear that the left better take, and your biggest sense of pride you can take from CPAC, I'm telling you right now, is the fact that Donald Trump said, I'm starting to really get this. Those words.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
Jackson Radio Show.
Let's come back quickly to what we just heard from the sheriff in Florida. Whatever your views on gun control, when you go through the list of mixed signals and then the officer who stood outside and didn't act, or did not go into the building, law enforcement called to Cruz's house on 39 occasions over 7 years, FBI tipped off to threats, the armed resource officer did not there. We have a much longer list. I could go on and on and on. We don't have time for it in this hour.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. That was John King of CNN. He's reading off a litany of the systematic things that haven't been done, that weren't done, I should say, to stop the Parkland shooter. And it was a comedy of errors. I mean, people are equating it to Barney Fife and Mayberry. Glad you guys are back here listening to me, the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255 if you want to call the show. This is, again, I love watching how these issues backfire on the left. They want to make gun control the central issue. What was it before this? Does anybody remember? Let me give you a hint, okay? If I were to talk in voice like this for an entire show, maybe you know what I'm talking about. Yes, Russia. Russia was the big deal. They had 13 indictments. They just indicted another person associated with Manafort, not President Trump, associated with Manafort. And suddenly, we've pivoted from the biggest thing that could possibly be there, be happening according to the world of the left, what's interfering with the sanctity of the Democratic Republic, our rule of law and voting, et cetera, and they've pivoted to gun control. And what's funny is as you listen to these guys talk about it, you know what we find out? It's been repetitive. There's been nothing new. Barack Obama had 8 years to address it, more school shootings on his watch than any other president, and he did nothing. Nothing. We've talked about it. I've heard other people say it. I don't know who said it first, but I know this. The minute that we talk about school shootings, I immediately say, well, where do we protect ourselves? What gets shot up? Tell me where there is like, for example, if you're robbing convenience stores, we can all agree that the convenience stores get robbed, right? Or if you want me to get ethnic, gets robbed. Convenience stores gets robbed, all right? They gets robbed, all right? So, I know I added an S to it. Don't. My producers look at me like they love for me to make the grammatical mistakes, as if I can't understand the English language. Anyway, you know convenience stores get robbed. But you know the ones that get robbed the least? The ones that have police substations attached to them. Surprisingly, those rarely get touched. And you know why they put a police substation in those particular ones? It isn't because they're in suburbia, aka utopia. No, they put them in the ones that are in the worst area. So I want you to imagine this. The convenience store that is in the worst area of town has the least amount of robberies. And what's funny about all of those that have those least amount of robberies is all of them have a police substation or a high police presence. And suddenly, in the worst areas of the country, the most likely targets of robbery don't get robbed. Liquor stores that have cops, security, don't get robbed. Federal government buildings don't get attacked. Can somebody tell me when's the last federal government building where someone got a gun in and shot a bunch of judges or attorneys or legislators or whatever? Name me one. When is the last time somebody went on a shooting rampage at the airport? And maybe I'm wrong here. I don't know, but I can't think of one. I didn't research this, by the way. Maybe you should research that and get back with me. But anyway, look, I don't know. But I'll tell you this. I go to the airport. I feel pretty safe. I was at CPAC, and they had armed security everywhere you walked. 2 dudes in uniform with, let me tell you, true assault weapons, the ones that have auto mode, standing around. I fist bumped every one of them. What's up, my brother? What's up, dude? Yeah, love seeing you guys here. Thank you for your service. Glad you guys are around. They had other police with dogs sniffing. They did the bill. Let me put it to you this way. they had all these conservatives in an area, hated people by the rest of America, by a lot of America, because of the press. Not a single incident, not a fight, not a shooting, nothing. There you go. So, when you look at these policies that these people are talking about, I would love for them to tell me where the guns are the issue. So here's CNN admitting, look, it wasn't that. Let's play the rest of that clip.
Whatever your views on gun control, the breakdown in the system here is just beyond stunning.
Yeah, and I would like to know more about the rules of engagement for this officer and exactly what was going on, that the surveillance was on a tape delay, which seems like an issue as well. And it must be said that Sheriff Israel was on stage the other night blaming an NRA spokesperson for her part in this when he is the one elected to actually serve these citizens. And it's unclear to me whether he knew exactly what went down, but he does have to answer for that. And the failures along the way people who failed along the way do have to answer for that. And we need to grapple with how these red flags do translate in something like an NICS background check. And the fact, by the way, that we tried to fix that in 2007 post-Virginia Tech, and that state governments have not been able to comply with filling that database, that's the bare minimum for making this preventable in some kind of way. And we do need to fix those things before we move on to other giant sweeping solutions.
Or whatever it is, you have to be able to think at least with two different tracks here. It's ridiculous that, the actual making the system work, and this is not the only shooting in which there's been, missed signals or things that should have been done. People were not doing their job of actually reporting these crimes that should have kept people from buying guns. This has been now a pattern over several of these shootings, and you have to be able to talk about fixing the system if you're going to try to improve the system that then has to trust the system is going to work. At this point, that's almost getting lost in the greater argument politically that's happening over what do you restrict, what do you change.
So not only did you have Mary Catherine Ham agreeing, adding emphasis, saying, yeah, what's a gun got to do with this? When people have done their part and the system breaks down, why is it that they want to blame the gun? But there was another lady that came on after her who was a writer for the Washington Post, and she even agreed. She was like, this is, you really can't get it. So here again, folks, is where the left overplays its hand. We're going to go for gun. This is the time. Go for the jugular. While Donald Trump is improving this economy, while the so-called investigation of Russia is spiraling on these people, so much so that they're willing to dump it to come back to the retread of gun control. And what does Trump do? Brilliance. Yeah, we really do have to address this issue that you guys are bringing up. Let's put the guns in schools. And not only that, we were wanting them to go to veterans. He's like, no, that's a layer. Let's give them to teachers. How dare teachers actually be able to protect themselves and the students in their care? I don't know about you. I'm from Texas. If you said to me a teacher was going to have a pistol, I'm like, thank you. I mean, we could take care of ourselves as kids because we all had guns in our cars anyway. But you know what? The front line of defense should be the teacher in your classroom. But I'm going to tell you what Jerry Brown did in California when we come back. Short break. You're listening to The Kevin Jackson Show.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
But it's really weird. They have no guns, and yet they have a very high crime rate in England, which tells you how polite the English are. Give me your wallet. All right. How do you have a crime rate, no weapons? That's what I want to know. Does a guy walk into a bank? Give me all your money. I've got a soccer ball. Ian, that's a Spalding. He's serious. Hand over the pound. Hand over the pound. And all my friends over there in Britain trying to sympathize with me. Oh, Bill, crime is horrible. Bill, if it's any consolation, crime is horrible here, too. You live in a land of fairies and elves compared to us. Don't you ever compare your crime to America's crime.
All right, everybody, welcome back. America has its crime, but I'll tell you this, America's crime rate would be practically zero if we dumped leftists. If we got rid of illegal Mexican gangs, black thugs, and Islamic terrorists, we would be practically utopian. I mean, it's as close as you get. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com. Talking about this Parkland shooting because the left is obsessed with it. They've overplayed their hands. They're becoming caricatures of themselves with gun control. It's a gun, man. To the point now where we are finally at a place, conservative Americans, people that listen to the Kevin Jackson Show religiously, I'm telling you, we have reached the place where we look at them and go, aha, those are the gun control nuts. Those are the gun control freaks. And people at the base level are starting to see them for what they are. You know what's funny about the people that argue for gun control? To a person. Ask a person who says, guns are bad, and this, that, and the other. Say, hey, let me ask you this. What do you know about guns? Name me the manufacturers. Give me the types of bullets and what fits into what. Tell me the types of rifles that exist. What's the most powerful rifle in your mind? What's the most powerful handgun? And then here's the pièce de résistance, okay? Okay, you ask them this. Ask them, you ever shot one? You ever owned one? You ever held one? Ask them. In almost all, it's overwhelmingly so. They've never touched a gun. They've certainly never shot a gun. They don't know enough about a firearm to save their monkey lives. This is the truth. Test me on this theory. Find your avid gun nut. Let me tell you what happens when a leftist goes and shoots a gun. They become a gun aficionado. They get hooked. They're like, that's so cool. They understand the power that exists in that weapon, but they also understand the responsibility. They then understand, wow, with all that power and hundreds of thousands, millions of gun owners in America that possess that power, they've done nothing. The amount of guns that exist in this country, the amount of ammunition, we are the safest people on the planet. And it's funny. Somebody said, oh, these people have these guns, act like, they have to protect America, like they could do something against the military. And I'm laughing at these clowns. I'm laughing at them. They believe that America's military could take out America's gun-owning population. If you believe that, you obviously have no idea of the gun culture in America and how safe it makes us. Now, I don't need to go back to why the Nazis didn't want to invade America and the Japanese and anybody else. The answer is because we had our guns. But I'll tell you this, as much respect as I have for the military, they are nothing in comparison to what we would do to them if every law-abiding gun owner decided, you know what, this government is tyrannical, and if the military attacked us, it would be gone. Sophisticated as it wants to be, it would be gone. We would destroy it. And we're the only country that can say that. Our people, made up of millions of ex-military, hundreds of thousands of police officers, and a lot of people that sound a lot like me, would give the military the blues. We know how to be snipers. We understand urban warfare. And many of us have skill sets that the military would love to have. So let me tell you, believe me, this government, it needs to get our guns before it can do anything tyrannical to us, because that is the thing keeping us from it. Look, I want to get into some of the issues around this thing, because we had people that I thought were some very interesting tweets, but they said the sheriff who did nothing while Nicholas Cruz killed 17 people refused to share information on Cruz with state social services during a 2016 investigation into his home life. This sheriff that got on national TV arguing with my friend Dana Lash and trying to push all of this onto the NRA, which doesn't manufacture guns. All it does is support the Second Amendment. Let me ask you this. Why do you even need the NRA? Think about that, just that as a query. The people are mad that there's an advocacy group supporting the Second Amendment. It would be like somebody saying, we need this big advocacy group that supports people's ability to speak. Can you imagine having an advocacy group that support the First Amendment? And every time you came out and said, well, look, that's a person's right to say that. Oh, there they go. They're for hate speech. No, they're for speech, free speech. I mean, I hate, the different people. I hate the Black Lives Matter people. I shouldn't say I hate them, but I detest what these people stand for. I detest what the Black Panthers stand for, New Black Panther Party. I detest what the Aryan Nation stands for, and on and on. La Raza. I detest what they stand for. They don't stand for America. They're so misunderstood on what this country is about. I detest that they get to say what they say. But I absolutely defend their right to say it. I think they're idiots. I think most of the stuff that comes out of the mouths of leftist people that are supposedly smart, the intellectuals over there, I believe they're idiots as well. But I certainly agree with their ability to speak it. Say what you want. I think it's great when Nancy Pelosi says something stupid, or somebody like Geraldo made the comment the other day. When you pick up an AR-15, man, it become a different beast. You're a different being than if you pick up another rifle. And I'm going, spoken like a guy who knows nothing about rifles and the people who have the millions of people who own AR-15s in this country legally. Believe me, I've been around a bunch of them. They're like, Kevin, hey, you ought to fire my 9 mag, man. Really? Let me hey, Kevin, check out this AR-15 I just tricked out. Okay, boom. All right, hey, look, shoot this 308, man. I got that sucker bored in. It's just it's like somebody showing you their car collection. It doesn't give them any different feeling. If they've collected it, if they like it, they show it to you. It's like somebody introducing you to your kids. Yeah, well, we got Molly here. She's 13. We got little Teddy. Of course, he's 12. He's 11, almost 12. Wink, wink. That's what they do. It isn't a different feeling, but these idiots are all, it's a different thing with the gun, man. You get that gun in your hand and you feel powerful. You get any weapon in your hand and you feel powerful. That's the point. The point is you are no longer going to be a victim. Because let me tell you something. Without that gun, guys like me could do whatever we want to you. If I come up to you and say, hey, let me have your wallet. You're going to be like Bill Hicks was talking about, give me your wallet. All right, here you go. Because if I want your wallet, I could take your wallet. I just happen to be a good guy. But there are people that use their powers for evil. And they will take your wallet, or much more. They'll take your life. So let me put it to you this way. As bad of a guy as I think I am, you got your pistol on your on your side there, or I don't know if you have it because you're in a concealed carry or whatever. I got nothing. I'm just going to go along my merry way. I mean, I'm going to go along my merry way anyway. But even the person that wants to attack you, that's looking for a mark, when he sees your weapon, or he thinks that's a guy that would probably carry a weapon, or a young lady that would probably carry a weapon, he moves along. And this has been proven time and time again. So back to what President Trump's going to do when he doubled down and said, hey, yeah, we're going to solve this problem for you. And everybody's like, he's going to stop the bump stock. I don't care if he stops the bump stock. There's a trigger mechanism I saw at a gun show. Man, that thing, you should see this trigger. If you want to go in what perceived auto mode, there's something that can be designed to do it. And I saw it. It's amazing. But President Trump doubled down. We're going to weaponize your school, your teachers, and who knows, but you're going to be protected. People are going to see a school and go, oh, that's a fortress. That's the least you can do for the children of this country. Freaking loved it. When we come back, I want to talk more about some of the tweets that came out. You people are so insightful. As I said before, we can consider all the things to talk about as radio hosts, but why do the work when you guys are out there coming up with these excellent ideas and observations? Back in a bit.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Kevin Jackson here. So, a guy tweeted this out. He says, we need to stop calling the left liberals. They truly meet all the tenets of communists. They want to change the Constitution. They want to eradicate free speech and all dissent. They want to control you, your life, your career, your health care. Oppose capitalism in all forms. They're communists. By the way, I talked about Jerry Brown. He sneaked something in last Friday on gun control. He said teachers can no longer shoot back if they're being shot at. Sneak that little bill in. Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. The idea that Jerry Brown sneaks in something that says you can't protect yourself. I want you to think about the most basic right. Your right to say, I want to exist. I want to live. That is, by the way, a God-given right. That is something inside of you. Let somebody put a pillow over your head. You know what you do? You fight like crazy. You don't lay there and go, oh, somebody's trying to kill me. Put a pillow over my head. You flail, you kick, you look for that breath. That little 60 seconds of air that's left inside of your body becomes massively important. Because that's it. If you don't fight back, that's the end. That's the end. And these guys are looking for every opportunity to take away that air. They want to stop your voice. They want to stop you from having a gun to protect your voice. And you could go down the line, but from the Fourth Amendment to the whatever amendments we have to the Constitution, whatever constitutional rights that you have, they want to get rid of them. It was funny. Some leftists said something about, it's my constitutional right to an abortion. And I think it was what she was saying. I was like, this is how distorted things have become on the left. They believe they have a constitutional right for this. You know what's funny? How they use every opportunity, this backfire of using kids for gun control. They continue this full court press for one reason and one reason only. They are nuts. They are gun control freaks. They are gun control nuts. That is the only way. When you describe them, if you say, well, the gun control lobby or the gun control, people or what, they are gun control freaks and nuts. That is the only way to describe them. You put them in a life or death situation, they would pick up a gun and limp with their little limp wrist and they'd shoot in 50 different directions because they have no idea how to fire a firearm. But they would grab it in an instant to save their lives. But they won't practice. They won't go find out what guns are about. They won't weaponize in that respect. They will pretend that the cops are there to help you. By the way, the same cops that they say want to beat up black folks. Their tactics are the same, folks, no matter how they go after whatever rights you have. High school kids are the new oppressed group. That's what I want you to understand. We've gone from women in the suffrage movement to blacks in freeing of the slaves, which, by the way, all legit stuff leading up to present day America, where neither women nor blacks nor Latinos nor Muslims nor immigrants or anybody else is oppressed. There is no oppression in America outside of the normal day-to-day life of human beings. And most of the oppressive interactions, leftists won't tell you this, but you're getting your education from the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com. Most oppression that occurs in America and around the world occurs at the hand of leftists. See, you and I, we're used to giving people helping hands. We see somebody who's willing to work hard, perform, etc., and we elevate them. If the left sees somebody willing to work hard and potentially get past them, they cut them off at the knees. And if they need to, they'll cut them off at the waist, and eventually they'll cut them off at the neck. You will be silenced. You will not exceed beyond me. Jealousy kicks in. All the 7 deadly sins at some point kick in with the left. You and I see a person who's trying to get back. I'll give you an example. We'll see a person trying to lose weight, and we go, way to go. Look at that big, I see 600-pound life. I see those big people working hard. I saw this one lady. She was 650 pounds. I talked about this the other day. She's climbing up from number one, walking without not even a wheelchair. She's slinging these big old saddlebags around, her buttocks just swaying in the wind, man. 650 pounds, give or take. And she's lifting herself up into a pickup. I'm talking about prying her body inside of it. You couldn't get a sheet of paper in there once she was in there. And she drove home, got out of that vehicle, and went into her house carrying 650 pounds around. Let me put it to you this way. I'm nowhere near that. You'd have to pack on at least 250 pounds on me and then say, Kevin, go walk around all day. Not all day, because she didn't walk around all day, but just take that weight and carry it around from location to location and just have. I got a 30-pound vest that I train in. It's loaded with lead, and I'll do pull-ups and walk around in that vest and stuff like that. Let me tell you, you do an hour in that vest with 30 pounds, and you're like, woo. You take it off, you think you can float. This woman is packing 450 pounds more weight than the average man, and she walks around, and you know what? I'm cheering her. I'm going, look at that big girl go. I'm looking for the positives. I'm saying to myself, wait till she loses weight. Wait till she's down to 170 pounds. She has dropped 480 pounds, man. I mean, she's down to something reasonable. And, and gets rid of the skin. I don't know what she's going to look like, but what is she going to feel like? If her heart and her muscle structure and her bone structure will let her carry that much weight, they may have to she's going to be like a helium balloon. She'll be walking around 6 inches above the ground. But here's my point to all of this. We look for stuff to feel good about in people. I don't look at her and go, look at that grotesquely overweight woman. I don't think, but the left will ridicule her. They will give her all the reasons that she cannot succeed and why she shouldn't succeed and all that. And I'm sitting there going, you can do it. And I hope you do it. And do you understand where you will be when you do it? We inspire people. Give them hope. The left take these high school kids who are at the point of their lives where, they should be enjoying life and looking forward to the future. And they go, no, you're oppressed. You could be shot. By the way, we didn't do anything for you over the period of time where Obama watched this increase occur, not just in your schools, but in general, in society. Not only can you be shot in your schools, you could be blown up at this marathon. You could be shot at your Christmas party. You could be shot at a gay nightclub. You could be shot in society in general or run over by a truck while you're riding bikes. But don't feel, you're oppressed. They did nothing to stop it. I mean, how many school shootings occur now each year? That's something Trump inherited. Why do schools teach about Islam, folks, when there are terror attacks? They actually increase their ideas around multiculturalization after we've been attacked by Muslims. They go into schools and say, don't get in this bias mode of Muslims just because they killed a bunch of people in San Bernardino, just because they went into a gay nightclub. By the way, they killed Christians at a Christmas party. They killed gay people at a gay nightclub. But don't believe the hype on Islam. Don't believe it. It's still a religion of peace. It's a good people. They go into schools and reinforce the good nature of Islam after an attack. But what do they do about guns? Do they go into the school and reinforce the idea that, had we had more protection in the school, things would have been good? If we had more guns in the school, no, because that would solve the problem. If they went into schools and told you the truth about Islam, you wouldn't be asked. There's no person that would go, teach me more about this religion of death. But if you told the truth about guns, kids would go, what's the big deal? It's the way we grew up. In case you missed it, folks, I discussed why Democrats fight against armed guards in schools. It's very simple. They know it works. Now listen, these kids said they would fear their teachers being armed. They had these kids on CNN. Nonsense. Abject nonsense. Are these kids afraid when they go into the airport and there's armed security there? In big cities, kids walk among armed security all the time. There's cops floating around everywhere. They aren't scared then. Why are they scared, supposedly, only when they're in the confines of their schools? I think you know the answer.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
All right, everybody, welcome. It's Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com. Very special day today for me. Happy birthday, Mom. Talking about my biological mother who died when I was 4 years old, about to turn 5, the month after her death. Today is the birthday of my mother. She would have been 74 years old today. Instead, she died at the age of 24. 50 years celebrate. Well, if you want to call it a celebration, it's a celebration of her life, but it's also the year that I can say is the 50-year celebration of the death of my mother. She died on May the 1st of 1968. Can't even tell you the level of impact that her death had on me. No, I mean it. I can't tell you. I don't know. It's something I've soul searched on for years, and I'll tell you this. Having lost my mother, and obviously my grandparents adopted me and my brother, so it looks like there was this continuity, but it wasn't. I tell people all the time, on May the 1st of 1968, not only did I lose my mother, I lost my grandmother and my grandfather too. Because when your grandparents have to take over and become your parents, you lose your grandparents. The unfortunate thing about being young and black and poor is black folks don't tell you, yeah, we're going to get you into therapy and help you understand what happened to your mom. On May the 1st, 1968, my mother died. I watched my grandmother get carried out by orderlies when she went to pick my mother up at the hospital for female surgery is what they called it. I remember them describing it as that, and I was like, what the heck is female surgery? Asked my grandmother, why is Mommy going to the doctor? She, baby, she has to have female surgery. It was a day surgery. And my grandmother goes to pick her up. Next thing I see is my grandmother coming out crying, being carried by orderlies, her head tilted back and her eyes rolling back in her head. And she had to drive home with two little kids that didn't understand what was going on as she wept in that car. And when she got home, started calling people, telling them that my mother had died. Her best friend. My mother and grandmother were best friends. They would sit on the front porch on our house at 2235 Hayes Street. And my brother and I would be inside in the living room playing, but we could hear them through those, those window air conditioners where the air would come. The vents would be there. You could hear them through that window because they had these little accordion things that made the air conditioning fit the window because it never fit the window perfectly. So we'd hear their conversations, and I didn't care what they were talking about. We were busy doing what we were doing, usually playing marbles or something like that. And so much respect my grandmother had for her daughter and my grandfather, who was her adopted father, the only father she really knew, because her real father, my real grandfather, was an alcoholic, and my grandmother had left him. But they would sit out there, and my grandfather marveled at the intellect of my mother, how she would debate people. My grandmother said to me, Kevin, you have the identical way of your mom. You debate people in a way that shuts them down, but you do it. You do it nicely. Sometimes they don't even realize it's happened. So for you guys to go, Kevin, you're so good on Fox, man. I love it when you're on Fox. Let me tell you, I got in honestly. It's my mother that did it. May the 1st. On May the 2nd, I would wake up the next day, that day, forever losing my mother, not understanding it. Trying to figure out, what is this world about? Where is that woman that used to wake me up in the morning, come give me kisses, sit me down at that little table while I had my breakfast cereal, made sure my clothes were right, got the, as my grandmother would call it, the matter out of your eyes. You know how you get that crusty stuff in your eyes when you sleep? And sent me off to school, and that was my routine. And on May the 1st, that routine was interrupted. May the 1st of 1968, never to be repeated again. So not only was I dealing with these issues of my mother dying, my dad being in prison at the time, my dad didn't make my mom's funeral. He didn't make his mother's funeral. And I could go on. Deadbeat. So anyway, today would be the 74th birthday of my mom. And it's an interesting thing because I never celebrated one of her birthdays that I remember. I mean, technically, 4 of them went by during my lifetime, but I barely have memories of her. I have fleeting ones. I remember on my 4th birthday, before she sent me to school, my grandmother and my mom keeping me out of school that day because I was thinking I was getting ready for school, and they made me a cake. And then I spent the day, I don't know doing what, but they told me, no, you're not going to go to school today, baby. And I was like, why? I go to school every day. But I was 4 years old. I remember that day. I remember the day my mom came home and she was crying because Martin Luther King had been killed. I remember that. That same year, by the way. So I have these faint memories of things, but I don't have a whole lot. So I figure, you know what? I'd share it with you guys. 74 years old. So happy birthday, Mom. The sad news is on May the 1st, I will be celebrating 50 years of her death. I mean, this is the year, but it will be 50 years that I've been without her, my brother and I. Interesting concept. I don't think about it very often. I guess it's also going to be the 50-year anniversary of Martin Luther King dying. I talked about that earlier, not dying, but being assassinated. And that comes up in April. I want you to think about that. In April, I think it's April the 7th, my mom came back to the house, told my grandmother, she had called her to say Martin Luther King had been assassinated. And my grandmother started crying on the phone. Dog, that's just not true, baby. And then when they got home, I watched them embrace and cry. And not even a month later, my mother would be dead. It's just shocking now that I think about it and put it into context. Oh, interesting. Interesting to me anyway. Well, listen, folks, don't be sad. It's not a sad moment for me. It's actually a joyous moment because I'm glad to be able to share that with you and not be completely emotional about it. I used to just break down in tears when I would think about this. Maybe it shows my emotional growth over that whole thing because let me tell you, not having my mom impacted me in ways I can't even describe to you. I hope none of your children ever have to deal with it.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Educating Liberals tweeted this: let's use some liberal logic. My AR-15 identifies as a Nerf gun. Anyone who disagrees is a racist. Welcome to the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com. If you want to give us a ring, 844-551-8255. I was at CPAC. I didn't get a chance to spend any time with President Trump. Needless to say, security was amped up. I flew in just to have meetings about things because here's what we're going to be doing. Our focus for the Blacks for Organization, Kevin Jackson, will be to change the black vote to such a degree that we never worry about the gerrymandering and the stuff that goes on from the left. So we've already had a significant impact. Trump has double the support of the black vote that he had from when he was elected. That's according to statistics. And we're going to be putting out a business plan on what we've been doing and how that number's been impacted. Now, there are people out there going, well, Kevin, there's lots of other people out there, Alan West and Star Parker and various others who are having an impact. I agree. But I believe that we accomplished more than most in this respect. One, in shoring up the conservative base. And I'm talking about the people that are going, Kevin, there are times I feel like the left is on the right track. We've dispelled that myth. Secondly, and I think there's 3 reasons now that I'm going to go all Rick Perry on you. The second thing we've done is those left-leaning moderates who've always felt a layer of guilt or something. We've gotten those people back to say, you know what? I've been listening to this black dude going on TV talking about these issues, and I feel better about who I am, and I'm going to lean to the right. And I know this for a fact because I ran into a lady at CPAC. I'll play her message here not too long from now. But she told me point blank, Kevin, you made me a conservative. She goes, I was a Democrat. She's a Hispanic lady. And she says, when you told me this statistics about American Indians being killed in more numbers than blacks, she goes, it hit me. And she goes, I started calling my family because she's part American Indian. And she's like, I started calling my family going, see, finally somebody's actually speaking the truth, because she was telling this to her sons. And so she goes, you got me. And she did a video for me at CPAC. I'll post that video as well. So lots of cool things came out of it. But look, folks, that's our mission. Our mission is to make sure people understand the left are liars, man. Liberal logic. Tucker Carlson said, government at all levels played a role in allowing the Parkland massacre to occur. A larger role than we knew. Details are shocking. Here's what we've learned so far. Schools failed. Local police failed. Florida bureaucracy failed. The officer on duty failed, and the FBI failed. And this is the group of people that at every level of government, there are leftists who go, put your faith in law enforcement. Let me ask you this. If one of those kids, an 18-year-old senior, had a concealed license, could it have been different? What if a group of them did? What if the people there had reacted and had a different idea around gun culture? What could we have done? We would have saved many, many lives. In fact, I'll even go a step further. That kid would have never gone to that campus armed. If he knew every high school boy in that place either had access to a weapon or could get one easily, that the school was, had already had drills for how to handle active shooter situations and so on, this never would have happened. Why aren't we talking about this? Thomas Paine said this on his tweet. He says, in under 4 days, anti-gun school kids get, quote, websites little blue check mark millions. And what he's saying with the little blue check mark is Twitter has already verified the organization that is representing these anti-gun school people. And just to put that in perspective, I've been on Twitter since 2011 or something. They know who I am. It's got my website and everything. We've requested on no less than 4 times for Twitter to verify that I'm who I am. Because when you're verified, people go, okay, this is the real Kevin Jackson. It's not somebody, pretending to be him. So you get exponentially more people that join you. I've got 66,000 people on Twitter, which is not very many, but I would probably have 250 to 300,000, maybe more, right? These kids already have a verified check mark. Get this. They've got millions in a GoFundMe account. They've got hundreds of thousands of followers in their social media. And he writes this. They've never even ran a lemonade stand, but instant millionaires and stars, not coordinated whatsoever. Somebody in the Democrat apparatus has said, okay, kids, this is what's going to happen. We're going to make you instant stars. We're going to get you millions. Twitter's going to verify you, and you're going to be ready to go. We're going to put you out there for media. All you got to do is say what we tell you to say. Brandon says this. CNN. Don't attack the Florida kids. Don't call them liars either. The Florida student says this. CNN gave me a scripted questions to ask that they were going to ask. CNN then says, he's a liar. Don't listen to him. So this guy Brandon is showcasing the lunacy. To call it lunacy is really not even to do it justice. The duplicitous nature of the left. Don't call. CNN says, no, stop calling these kids liars when we were telling them, look, we don't believe that these kids are saying all this stuff. Then a kid goes, look, they gave me scripted stuff to say. Then CNN goes, he's a liar. You can't call him a liar, but CNN can call him a liar. And they wonder why we don't trust them. Governor Mike Huckabee says, what did I miss? Cowardly corporations punish NRA because the FBI failed to act on info regarding the shooter. Florida sheriff had 4 deputies who stood outside and hid during gunfire that killed 17 innocent kids. How many NRA members did mass shootings? 0. Dana Lash says, quote, it is not inflammatory to accurately criticize media's obsession with tragedies for ratings. What is inflammatory is presenting and allowing accusations to stand uncorrected millions of innocent law-abiding Americans who are parents too as murderers. We've done nothing wrong. See, this is what cracks me up about the left. They are constantly doing things wrong. They are constantly, it's their kids. It's their kids. Your kids, 99% of the time, are doing things by the book, the right way. I mean, don't misunderstand me. Their kids doing crazy things from time to time, but they're not shooting up schools. They're not pushing. Well, I mean, they may use drugs, but most of them aren't involved in the drug trade. Most of them are not, out beating up people and they live in a gangster life. They're not. Your kids are going through the normal, issues of growing up and coming of age. Which doesn't always agree with you and your sensibilities, but you've taught them, and they'll figure it out. But these other people's kids, these leftist kids, they are killing people day in and day out with guns, knives, humiliating them, bullying them. They're doing all the things that they claim that they stand against. It's so twisted in a crazy sense that it's hard to believe that we're even discussing it, honestly.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
I don't deal with jails. Don't deal with jails, and I don't deal with police. My house got robbed in New York. I didn't even call the police. I wanted to, but I couldn't. My crib is too nice. It's not that it's too nice, but it's too nice for me. You know how the police are in New York. Soon as I open the door, they'll be like, oh, he's still here. Open and shut case, Johnson. Apparently, this black guy broke in and hung up pictures of his family everywhere. Never seen anything like it.
Black people don't want cops around, huh? Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. I don't care. You could have 5,000 cops that live in my neighborhood. Good. I don't care. And I played that clip of Dave Chappelle because he obviously makes fun of the notion of not, calling the cops to his house and all that. And of course, it's tongue in cheek. And I'm sure there's some of that. But generally speaking, if you don't want to involve law enforcement, it's because you're doing something wrong. It's tough for a dope dealer to call the cops. It's like when some mafioso gets shot. He's like, don't take me to the hospital. No, don't take me to the hospital. You cannot call the hospital. I can't go. They have doctors. All these criminals, they have doctors in an underground, black market doctor who will treat them, makes a lot of money and says, look, I can't make any guarantees because I don't have this. I'm not set up for this. And at the highest level, they have their own network set up for this stuff. I know it's hard for us to believe because we're going, you mean a guy, gets stabbed and he won't go to the hospital? No, he goes to his own doctor. They have people that they call who say, you got to never use my name, blah, 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 but I've got a medical facility set up, and they're making a crap load of money. Because the criminal element says, when my guys get killed or whatever, I'm not taking them to the hospital. I'm bringing them to you. They're on call 24/7. I'm just telling you, Hollywood doesn't make this stuff up. There are people that have to have a place to go that isn't in the mainstream because of the work that they do. But blacks, let me just tell you, it's funny how this whole criminal justice thing is it's twisted because that's what the left does. So you guys know we're making a film, bleedingbluemovie.com. We're making this film about cops. And it's a pro-cop film, but it explores a lot of the negative stuff about cops as well. But we're making this film. And what got me interested, and the reason why I'm bringing this up right now and talking about the police and played that David Chappelle comedy clip, is they want to put cops into schools. That was one of the suggestions. And a chick that writes for Huffington Post, I believe, her name is Rebecca Klein. She wrote a piece, and it was that more cops in schools means more blacks in the criminal justice system. And I thought to myself, only a leftist would have the cojones to write something like that. The more cops that they bring into schools, the more black people that are likely to get incarcerated. Children. We're not talking about dope dealers, gangsters out there doing the children that are in school. She's saying the black kids, they're the criminals. They wonder why black people become criminals. If somebody continually calls you a criminal, you're a criminal, you're a criminal, criminal. You certainly think you are. I told you guys my story. My dad went to prison and my uncle, and I was thinking, I guess I got to go to prison. Now, I could have succumbed to that and made it true. All the men on my father's side of the family, the young men, have been to prison. Every single one of them over the age of 30 has been to prison. And there are two who haven't been. They haven't hit 30 yet. One's a dancer. He's a gifted dancer, dances on Broadway. And his brother, William. Those are the only two. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm saying they're younger, but they haven't hit 30 yet. So I'm back to what I said. Over 30, every single one of the men on my father's side of the family has been to prison. That I know. Every one. So you get this mentality that you're going to go. I'm probably going to end up in prison. I had never done anything, nothing seriously wrong in my life. And I thought, I got to go to prison. I guess that's just the nature of things. So what could stop me from going to prison is realizing, no, I'm in nowhere near that environment. I don't live in an environment that's conducive. Let me put it to you another way. Take all them little white kids out of suburbia, put them in the hood, and a bunch of them are going to end up in prison. This isn't a black thing or a white thing. It is a condition thing. It's a circumstance. It's the way it is. Now, the kids who are going to school and working hard, their chances are a lot less likely for it to happen. But there are some bad kids in school. But what cracked me up about this Rebecca Klein article and what she wrote is, in effect, she's essentially promoting this as opposed to telling these kids what police presence in schools will do is it will give you a feeling of being on the straight and narrow. You can no longer do the things that might give you it's like if you're going to go do something bad and shoplift and they tell you, man, don't go to that store. They got mega security. They got cameras all over the place. It can't be done. You're probably going to say, well, probably not going to do it. Or you go into a store and they say, video surveillance. We prosecute shoplifters. You're going to go, probably don't want to go there. So the deterrent can impact your behavior, but not with the left. The left pretty much encourage you. They tell you, oh no, if there are more, this girl writes, if there are more cops in schools, more black kids are going to go into the criminal justice system. I would defy to her and say, that's a lie. Quite the opposite is going to happen. Here's what she writes. When President Donald Trump held a listening session with survivors of gun violence, their family members, and the parents of murdered students on Wednesday, much of the discussion focused on ways to enhance school security. The president recommended arming teachers, while one parent suggested that undercover police officers pose as teachers and school staff. Several parents called for more security officers at schools. There's scant evidence that more cops and security guards on campus actually stop school shootings. There's scant evidence just because there are no cops and security people on most of the schools. See, I'm stopping here just for a second. She knows that there's a lot of evidence that says if you have more police, you'll have less crime. It's absolutely the fact. That's a case. There's no arguing that. That's a case. You know what I'm saying? There's no arguing that fact. Armed security stops any type of thing. And I've already talked about it. There's no sense rehashing that at airports and at federal, buildings where law enforcement is there and has a presence, even armed security at some venue. You're going to have, if you've got a nightclub and they go, there are no bouncers and there's no security, and you have a nightclub that goes, they got bouncers and they have police officers who will shoot you, you're not going to have, tell me which one where the shootings are going to occur. Anybody? So there's lots of evidence that suggests it. It's not evidence in schools because we aren't arming enough schools to give you enough feedback. But I'll put it to you this way. Common sense certainly tells you if I arm school people in schools, there's going to be a lot less shootings in those schools. But she says this. There's an abundance of evidence suggesting that more school security means more vulnerable students getting funneled at an early age into the criminal justice system. So she's saying there's been a lot of research done that shows that if you put cops in schools, black kids are going to get arrested. And here's her evidence. Black children are already more likely to get arrested at school. In 2012, black children represented only 16% of school-age children, but 31% of those arrested. So what she's doing here, she's blaming the police. because black kids are getting arrested in disproportionate numbers. It has nothing to do with the behaviors or anything like that. Oh, so what she is effectively saying is these black kids are committing crimes in disproportionate numbers at almost double their numbers in schools. And if the cops weren't there, they wouldn't be getting arrested. The solution to her is not stopping black kids from committing the crimes. The solution for her is remove the cops. That's going to help that statistic. Now, if you just care about the statistics, she's 100% right using that statistic. If you remove the cops, and we don't know that black kids are committing extortion or selling drugs or raping kids in school or whatever, then you know what? It's going to look like kumbaya. Look at all those black kids. There's no crime in black America, no crime in black schools. I wrote a piece a while back that said, if you listen to Al Sharpton, black people commit no crimes. We are just sad, products of the criminal justice system gone awry, but we're not doing anything wrong. We don't even exist. It's white lawyers, white cops, white prosecutors, white judges, white whatever. That's how we are always ending up in the wrong end of the system. And by the way, we're framed for everything. We don't do anything wrong. That's the same contention this woman is making by saying if there's no cops, then there's no crime. If you didn't see it happen, did you know it happened?
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We're talking about if there are more cops in schools or there are going to be more blacks in prison. Welcome back. KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255. So if black kids commit crimes in schools where they're predominantly black or whatever the school makeup is, if you put more cops there, the potential for those cops to find out about more criminality exists. Therefore, more blacks can end up in the system. The liberal solution to that is less cops in schools. So it doesn't matter if black. And by the way, just so you guys are clear, the statistic I gave earlier was blacks. This lady wrote this. Black children are already more likely to get arrested at school. In 2012, black children represented only 16% of school-age children, but 31% of those arrested. So her contention is it's already bad for blacks, and cops are going to make it worse because they're going to see the criminality and put more blacks in prison and all that. Well, here's the what's interesting. That statistic is skewed. Many of the schools, I know this happened in Chicago, they said, stop reporting the black crime in schools. Stop expelling black kids at disproportionate rates because it's making the statistics look bad. See, for the left, it's about statistics. It's not about results. They don't care if black kids don't behave. That's not the issue. I've been profiling these really nice, prestigious schools around the country, mostly in St. Louis, and these schools are essentially coddling black kids. They're, it's okay for them to be late. It's okay for them to be disruptive. They've got issues at home. Really? The left wants you to just dismiss bad behavior of blacks. It'll figure itself out. Eventually, if we treat them nice enough, these kids will finally get it. The light's never going to come on with leftism. Anyway, she goes on to say this, and when more cops are in school, these arrests are more likely to take place, even for minor misbehaviors. And that's going to be interesting when I get into that. But she says it's a phenomena that advocates call the school to prison pipeline. Just for the record, if you're a black kid in a school in America, the likelihood is you are already on the school to prison pipeline known as the existing leftist education system. Now, here's what she goes on to say. The more we add security or police forces and so on to schools, the more likely it is for students who are already at risk of being seen as potential troublemakers get swept up in the justice system or suspended and pushed out of schools. This was Aaron Kupchik, a professor at the University of Delaware, who studies this issue. The risk, he says, are even higher for students who are already more vulnerable. I want you to understand the use of his word vulnerable. He's saying the criminal element in these schools are the vulnerable, not the people who are the crimes are being committed against. For those of you who grew up, 30, 40, 50 years ago going through school, you wouldn't even recognize it today. You wouldn't. The idea that a young girl could go to a high school or a junior high school and be raped is beyond comprehension. If you had said to me, Kevin, a girl got raped at, Brady Junior High, I would go, you're out of it. I would go, shut up. Stop trying to play her. You shouldn't joke about things like that. If you'd said, Kevin, some girl got raped at Brady High School, which I have ended up going to. I went to the Marine Military Academy, but I would have said, you're out of your mind. Doesn't happen in these schools. And I would have been right. In my time of getting through high school, junior high and high school, that didn't happen. You didn't have roving gangs of boys looking to, to rape young girls. And certainly in high school either. None of that stuff happened. We didn't have gangs of boys beating up other boys. You might have fights. You had that kind of stuff. Anyways, he says, we're worried this continues to be a knee-jerk reaction that politicians have after a school shooting to not deal with gun violence issue, but instead to throw more money at law enforcement. Can you believe somebody actually said that? That's what Judith Brown Dianis, the executive director of the Advancement Project, said. It's when you have gun violence at schools, the knee-jerk response to put more security. How crazy is that? We should be dealing with these guns. Yeah, let me ask you, do you think that the guns are the reason that these kids are getting brutalized at school? When I tell you that girls are being sexually molested at school, I'm not exaggerating. When I tell you that boys are being sexually molested at school, Kevin, you're out of your mind. They're being beat up, taken advantage of in ways, bullied, you name it, and they want less people on school. What's that got to do with guns? What in the long range do you think most people are going to remember? You think some high school kid that's watching the scenario of Parkland play out is going to go, oh man, these guns are in school? Or do you think that when he gets to school and young boys brutalize him and do things to him that demoralize him, what's going to last longer in his psyche or her psyche? Some girl who gets brutalized by a gang of boys that the teachers ignore, the system ignores because they are concerned about statistics. This is crazy, folks. But this is how the left thinks. They go on to say this. There have been scattered instances in which school security has helped foil an armed intruder. And some studies have found clear benefits of having cops in schools, as these schools are more likely to have an emergency crisis plan in place and receive regular safety inspections. But these benefits come at a steep price, they say. One that could disproportionately impact black and brown students who are already more likely to face overly harsh discipline. Let's go into overly harsh discipline. So I know of instances in schools, young kids, 4th, 5th graders, beating up teachers, fighting with them. Google teacher, student fights teacher, student knocks teacher out, student shoots teacher, whatever. Go on YouTube and look for those videos. You'll see them all day long. You could watch them for a straight month. You could binge watch. Forget reality TV. Just Google it. See what I'm talking about. These people act as if the kids go to school. To hear them say it, it's just these great kids going to school and these mean teachers, do this stuff and suddenly a kid snaps and goes out and decides to get a gun because they can't handle, the situation of what's happening at school. But it's not the system's fault. It's not the education system's fault by any means. It's certainly not the bureaucrats in school, and it's not the Democrats' fault who put all, who did it. No, it is the gun's fault for making that happen. It's got nothing to do with all the other stuff. And like I said, I'm always interested in looking for the solution to a problem because I'm a former management consultant. I can't go into a company and they say, yeah, Kevin, we've had a rash of shootings here at the company. And I go, yeah, whoa, I've seen that. I tell you what, if we ban the gun, that'll stop your rash of shootings. Okay, great. Is it going to stop the rash of knifings that follow? No. Is it going to, stop the rash of beatings that follow once we ban knives? No. But that's their answer. That's how leftists answer. They go on to say this. I love the idea that they want to protect black kids. Let me tell you the best way to protect black kids. Let the consequences fall where they may. See, accountability. Understanding that if you come to school and you do something wrong, you are gonna catch a case. You're gonna end up in the criminal justice system. Unlike most people who end up in criminal justice because they got a ticket, they want to pay, they got to pay the ticket, and they got to go to court and all that, and they get an introduction, and they say to themselves, "What a monumental waste of time! I speed, I get this ticket, I got to take a day off of work." I remember when I was working and I got a ticket. I remember thinking to myself, "Dadgummit, I got to shoot a day of vacation to take care of this ticket. That's stupid." It isn't the cost. The ticket was $275. That's bad enough because that was more than a day's pay. But then I got to take a day. So what's this ticket actually costing me? When you weigh that and say, it's just better to get behind one of these big 18-wheelers and let him get the ticket and not try to zip by him because he may be driving 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. I drive 15 and I get the ticket. No, I'm done with that. They said this. One study found that schools with police are more likely to refer students outside the law enforcement for a range of behaviors, get this, for offenses that are minor, like vandalism. Another study found that schools with cops had more arrests for minor misbehaviors like disorderly conduct. Just ask yourself, how bad can vandalism be and how bad can disorderly conduct be? Well, go look at those videos I told you about and you tell me. And then I love this last part. Then there's the possibility of police brutality. A Huffington Post investigation previously found schools with cops had officers that used tasers over 80 times on children between 2011 and 2016. Now that's a lot of years. Ask yourself, why do you think they tased these kids? You think because they were checking out the taser and said, "Come here, kid, you look like you could be tased"? I think you know the answer.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It is my mother's 74th birthday, had she been alive. And you know what it makes me think about? It makes me think about Mary and Frank, my adopted parents. My mother died when I was almost 5 years old. And it took me years and years and years to get through all that process. And about, 5 years ago, I was at an event in Steamboat, Colorado. I meet this couple that's super nice. We all go to dinner, a group of people, including the Attorney General for South Carolina. And I say to Mary, who has no children, "You know what? I'm adopting you guys." And we laugh together. And sure enough, Mary starts calling me son. I call her mom. Frank's pops, they own a manufacturing company. And I'm planning a trip to China with them. They've let me use the condo. They've adopted me and my circle of family and treat me like a son. Seriously. Donated money to my charity. Was coming back from their place in Florida and said, "Hey, son, we're going to stop into St. Louis and we're going to come by your charity event." They came by and went, "Holy cow. this is amazing, was at the Cardinals Club. They wrote a check to help kids get adopted, helped me get 2 kids adopted. Sight and see. When I told them, here's a charity, swing through if you can, they said, we're going to redirect our flight. We're coming through to spend a couple days with you. Came to town and did it, and the rest is history. Come to Denver, spend time up here in the summer. We got a horse ranch, blah, blah, blah. And here's the deal for all of you who say, Kevin, you didn't grow up with a silver spoon, but you adopted into one. Yes, I did. I did not want to adopt poor people as my new parents. But on the anniversary, my mother's birthday, it's not the anniversary of my mother's birthday. It is her birthday today. I give a tribute to Beverly Jean, a woman that I obviously love very dearly and wish I could have spent more time with, but also give a tribute in her memory to the people that stood in and substituted, like my grandmother. What an amazing lady. I mean, in so many ways, imprinted on me, ways I cannot describe, that I could never pay back, except to obviously pass it along to my grown men, children. But it just is amazing to think about all the ways that she impacted me. And now, in my, older years, adopting my new parents, Mary and Frank. So it makes me think of all of that. Just such a tribute. What an amazing lady. Tell the story of my grandmother with her best friend, Chris. I called her Miss Chris growing up. She had a daughter named Joanne, who I thought was just the hottest thing out there. She babysat for me. Beautiful lady. And anyway, Miss Chris was a beautiful lady too. And they went to visit a psychic. And my grandmother hated psychics. She thought it was the devil and all that kind of stuff. She was like, it's evil stuff. But Chris goes, I just want to know what's going on with me and Cleve. She's married to a guy named Cleveland. And so they stopped in with the psychic. And the psychic, said, did Miss Chris's reading or whatever. And said, you seem troubled. And so reads my grandmother and says, someone close to you is going to die quickly. This was in March of 1968. And my grandmother's like, whatever, it's probably going to be my husband because he's 10 years older than I am, blah, blah, blah. So she just dismissed it. I mean, not that she was just being flippant about the death of the grandfather that raised me, Daddy Ernest, but she was like, well, that's the way life works. And 2 months later, my mother died. And that was the beginning of a lot of trauma in a strange kind of way in my life. And I will tell you this, in as much as, there's nobody that doesn't want to spend their lives with their parents, with their mom particularly. And my mom had remarried a guy named Tommy. And I eulogized him when he died. But as much as I would love to have my mom back, I got to tell you, life has a way of dealing you these blows that makes you who you are, and I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it because I don't know what I'd be. Who knows? But and am I saying I wouldn't be the person I am or wouldn't be? No, I wouldn't be, and it doesn't mean I'd be bad. I just don't want to change it. I know now what all of this led up to. It's kind of like Joshua being sold into slavery by his brothers, and then he saves Egypt. I feel, and by the way, I'm not trying to say I'm Joshua and going to save the republic, but in my own small way, I'm doing something. And I don't know what God's plan is for that, but I am doing something. It's not what I wanted to talk about this segment, but I do want to make sure you guys understand that it is my mother would have been 74 today, but what's a bigger issue to me is on May the 1st of this year will be the 50th anniversary of my mother's death. Yeah. Same year Martin Luther King died. April the 7th is the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King. And I remember that day because of my mom. One of those vivid memories of my mother. I'm so grateful to have it. I hate the circumstances. My mom and my grandmother hugging each other and sitting there watching that TV in the den is they're broadcasting. It was Cronkite broadcasting about the death of Martin Luther King and the impact it was having around the country, the assassination by a Democrat, racist member of the KKK. Yeah. Can't let those things slip by in the radar. That's why we're going to be working on something for April the 7th to remind people that the Democrats killed one of the greatest men of the civil rights movement. Yeah. Lots to talk about. I had a dream. I'm going to talk about this dream in a second. For now, I'm going to talk about Emily. I don't know her last name, but she's a model, a supermodel. And she got married. I saw this over the weekend. She got married. And she was in the movie where Ben Affleck's wife pretends to be dead. And she played his girlfriend. Beautiful girl. I'd never heard of her prior to that, but just remember thinking, wow, she's really pretty. And so she got married. And there was a time when I'd see a chick like her get married, and I would have said, boy, her husband's a lucky guy. I mean, she's gorgeous to look at. But then I remember she's a lefty. I don't remember what the cause was, but I just remember the minute that she opened her mouth about what it was, like the women's movement, and I remember thinking, what? Talk about, just going from being up here, an actress I'd never seen and who did a really good job in the film, to somebody that I went, zero respect instantaneously. And I think that's how I view the Democrats in general. And I think a lot of people are coming to that conclusion.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here, KJRadio.com. I've been having these crazy dreams about stars. And it's funny, I've had about 3 of them in the past month. And I'm sharing this with you. And I've been wanting to talk about them because they've been very interesting dreams where I'm putting these stars in their place. So I'll give you the example of this one because it was vivid. It happened to me just yesterday. And I was dreaming about Bruce Springsteen. I don't know why. So Springsteen's on Fox. And he's in an interview, but suddenly, you know how dreams are, he becomes the person interviewing, and he's interviewing me. He's asking me questions. And I'm chuckling at him. I'm heckling him. He's wanting to get answers from me, and I go, and I say to him, Bruce, it's really funny. I've watched, you know what it was? One of his band members, they're playing a song, and I went, hey, I actually kind of like that song. And he gets mad at me. He's like, what do you, and he mumbles to me, what do you mean you like this song? And I went, well, I don't really, and we're having this conversation as they're playing, and you know how dreams are, it's crazy. But I'm saying to him, I don't really like your music. But I like the beat of this song. I don't know about the words or whatever. So that's what starts the thing. So then Bruce Springsteen's offended in his interview with me, and he's like, you right wingers, blah. And he's telling me this stuff, and I say, Bruce, I go, I don't know much about your music. I tell him, when I was in high school, all the Jersey guys loved you. You were the guy. And I listened to your music, and I was like, I don't get it. But you know what? If you love him, I'll love him with you, right? And they talked about how you were a down-to-earth guy. You represented the steel belt, the Pennsylvania guy that just gets out and makes a regular living, and he wants to live life on the up and up, but it's tough out there to scrape it together because of this, that, and the other. And I thought, I got an impression of you that you would be the guy that's leading the conservative cause, the forgotten man, the guy that works the steel mill or works for the railroad or works in some theoretical menial task that is necessary for this nation to work. You talked about, and this is what I believe through some of the music, you talked about things like the steel mills being shut down and all these different things that are occurring that are hurting the American worker. So how do you come out here and become a leftist? And I said, and your guy's mad at me because I don't listen to your music. I don't listen to your music. But I said, it's really funny to me that your man's mad at me because I say I don't appreciate your music. I appreciate this song, but I don't like your music overall, which is exactly my prerogative. I acknowledge that I like something about what you do, but you don't take that as a good thing. Your guy's focused on how much I don't like about you. And I go, what? Am I supposed to like everything you do, Bruce Springsteen? Now, look, keep in mind, guys, this is an interview I'm having with him that looks to me in my dream as real as any other Fox interview I'm having. I'm explaining to America how jacked up Bruce Springsteen is because he doesn't want me. He's mad at me because I don't like all of his music when I just complimented the dude on what I did like about him. Now, you can already see the metaphor, right? You see how this dream is formulating. I'm looking at how the leftists who claim to be for the downtrodden, everyday Joe America, and how much they hate it, and moreover, how much they're mad that this black dude doesn't like everything they're trying to do, when in fact, I picked the one thing. I go, I do like this. I like that you have a good idea, or I like that you're trying to do this, or I like, well, they don't take that as good. Nope. So you're a bad guy, Kevin. And I said, no, Bruce, you're a bad guy. You've tricked people into believing that you believe in this America that takes the common man and gives him hope that somebody will turn this system around. Right now, we're talking about Parkland Hospital in this shooting with President Trump. And President Trump is saying, look, I've watched this play out for decades. It's never fixed. You know what? I'll fix it. I'm going to put security in schools through teachers, if we have to do it through police, whatever. We're going to secure these schools. We're going to end this. And do you think that the left is giving the guy credit for saying, let's end it? It would be like he's talking to Bruce and he says, yeah, Bruce, you know what? I agree with you that we should, that we agree that there should be more protection in schools. Do we agree on that? Yeah. I think it requires more guns. Oh, no. Yeah, it does. But so we agree that we should protect schools. Now, here's where we are right now. Without guns, schools are getting shot up. It's not just an Obama problem, but it's an Obama problem that got exacerbated. It's a problem of the left that got exacerbated during the time of Obama. More school shootings than any time in history, under any president, under Barack Obama. And nothing done. And here's what we know. No schools have been armed. While the schools are continuing to be shot up, nobody's arming these schools. Nobody's saying, let's take this, let's make this situation up to DEFCON 1. But Donald Trump does. And what he says is, we've tried it your way with no guns. How about we try it with guns? Because it could potentially kill people. Yeah, well, we don't have to worry about what the potential is with killing people with your way. It's been happening. It continues to happen. So what exactly do you not like about this? And I keep coming back to, folks, it's because it works. Anyway, I don't want to go back into that. I want to talk about this analysis because I'm telling you, I've had, of going back to Bruce Springsteen, I've been having these arguments. I had an argument with, I want to say it was Tom Hanks. I'm talking about a similar dream where Tom Hanks came and talked about gun control or tax policy or whatever, and I destroyed him. And I don't know what the deal is. I don't know why I'm having dreams. And maybe you guys can help. You can call me and let me know what you think. 844-551-8255. Maybe you are a dream interpreter and you're going, Kevin, here's what's happening, my friend. Because had it only been one celebrity, I would have been like, whatever. I'm not. Do you guys think I'm kidding? My producers are going, Kevin, you're looking at me like, no, you can't be serious. I'm dead serious. I've had no less than 4 dreams. I can't even remember who they are. One of them might have been Jay-Z. But I know Bruce Springsteen was the most recent. That's why I can call him out. They were playing, but then Bruce stopped playing and they started interviewing me and all this. And that's the way it was. And it was as real to me as any Fox hit I do routinely. I don't know why the moderator let Bruce take over, and he starts asking, well, Kevin, let's talk about this a little bit, what your thoughts are here, my man. And he's asking me these questions, and everything he's asking me, I'm just as calm as can be, and I'm just spanking Bruce, man. I'm saying things to Bruce like, Bruce, if your fans really knew who you are, what you really represent, I hope you can live off the existing royalties, because I think that if they knew who you really were, you wouldn't sell any more records. And the takedown, folks, I swear, it was so eloquent. It was like just flowed like butter. I didn't stutter. I just boom. And I used this music. It was funny. I would say, I don't know many of your songs, but I think you had a song titled this. And I would destroy him with the lyrics of his song as if I knew the lyrics. I don't even know the lyrics to this man's song. I can't name you 5 Bruce Springsteen songs. But I was beating him up, man. Somebody tell me what that's about. I'd love to hear it.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Elizabeth, what is the reaction inside President Obama's inner circle to these musings from the president?
I mean, it's ridiculous. And if they want to go around and say that Barack Obama could have done more, fine, stipulated, but it's your bag, pick it up.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. That was a panel on MSNBC. Nicole Wallace and her guest attacked Donald Trump. But here's what's funny about that comment. They say, tell us what, is going on inside of the Trump inner circle. And here's what's going on inside the Trump inner circle. They don't know. She has no clue. And she goes on to act as if the question is framed so poorly, but now she's got to answer. Who do you think I don't even know who the girl was who was answering the question. Some young Latina looking girl. Who does she know inside the Trump inner circle? Kevin, tell us what's going on inside the Trump inner circle. Well, Mr. Trump is, what could I possibly tell you when I don't know Kellyanne Conway. I don't know most of the people inside. The best I could do, I've got, I know people in the organization, Rick Perry, Ben Carson, others, but, and am I talking to them? And by the way, do you think any of them would give, well, Kevin, inside the inner circle I have no clue what's going on inside the inner circle of Donald Trump, and neither does any of the lamestream media. Do you believe somebody at MSNBC, a guest who is going to speak on behalf of what's going on inside the Trump administration? What a joke. But I want you to hear the rest of what they say, because it does. To hear these people going unhinged with Donald Trump is priceless.
Does that mean that now he doesn't have to do anything? So, I mean, for most of us, I just think it's really sad to see someone who literally is constitutionally incapable of being a president and leading. And if he really did care about what Russia did, why didn't he start a commission? Every member of his intel community has said there was meddling. It happened. And he just moves on. And so that's sad.
That's sad. I love listening to the left. Did you notice a couple things? One, he's constitutionally incapable of being a leader. Interesting. Constitutionally incapable of being president. Well, no, he isn't. He's constitutionally fit to be president, and he is president. But I love how she trailed off. It's just what. That's sad because she had nothing to say. Even the moderators kind of going, "What? Okay," and she moves on. Now I want to play the rest of the clip.
But what about the fact that he now has his own? Can you imagine any scenario where Susan Rice would have been at the Munich Security Conference and saying anything about Russia or anything else, and President Obama would be live tweeting his dissent or critiquing her performance?
Never, ever, because we were unified and we spoke, and we had a foreign policy strategy that the whole government was clued in on. But no, also, we didn't let Barack Obama have his Twitter, so.
But even if he did, I mean, just the idea
no,
that
he never would have.
But that there's no topic that's too sacred for the president to undermine his own aides, and there's no aide that's immune from being attacked by the president on Twitter. Just as someone who worked at the highest levels of a White House, how outside the norm is that?
It's so outside the norm. I don't understand why people actually continue to work there. I mean, he's a tank. He knows one direction forward. He's going to mow over all of them. They're all going to leave the building with no credibility and complete reputational damage. And so for him, the only person so far, the only two who are immune are Ivanka and Jared. And that remains to be seen.
So far,
exactly.
Right?
Hicks. Don't forget about
and Hope Hicks.
No,
So far.
She had bad judgment about Rob Porter, don't forget.
And but still, he hasn't attacked her on Twitter.
No.
You're right.
Wow, you gotta love this, man. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. 844-551-8255. Would love to get your take on that. That's MSNBC people. Nicole Wallace with a group of people. That one lady used to work on the Obama administration and had something to do with foreign policy. And it just amazing to me. She actually said earlier, and we played earlier in the clip where she said everybody on Trump's foreign policy team says there was meddling. Yeah. We can always admit the Russians are meddling. That's normal. Big deal. Okay, but here's the question. In 2014, Obama knew there was meddling, and in 2016, he said, what's Trump? He needs to stop his whining and go campaigning. The Russians have nothing to do with our election. Do you think they covered that in that segment? And I love the part where they shift gears. The lady comes out. She says, Nicole Wallace, she said, but what about, can you imagine a scenario where, Obama's critiquing his staff on Twitter and he's doing this kind of a thing? I can't even imagine it. We kept Twitter away from Barack Obama. What a revelation. We had to keep it away. He would have been too dangerous. He might have actually told the truth. He might have said things that we couldn't control. Just understand, they treated him like a child. You couldn't let Barack Obama have the nuclear weapon of Twitter. And Trump says, look, I don't care how many advisors I have. I don't care what these people want. You don't control me. You don't tell me what to say, what to do, what to write, how to think. I'm going to go say what I want to say. So that was number one. Then the girl comes in and says, well, we were unified. Yeah, you were unified and going after Trump. And then she says, we were unified in our foreign policy strategy. We had a foreign policy strategy. Yeah, let me tell you what that foreign policy strategy was. Kowtow to every nation when it comes to trade. Trump at CPAC yet again reinforced the idea. $500 billion of trade with per year, almost approaching that number with China by itself. A 70 plus, he said $100 billion trade deficit with Mexico. I don't know I heard it was 78 billion. That's significant. He says it's no wonder these people loved having us come to these trade, meetings and these different foreign policy meetings because it was like, who's going to be the sucker at the poker table? America. We were unified in our strategy. And what's funny, they say no topic is too sacred for the president to undermine his aides. See, here's what I really love that the left doesn't get. We didn't elect his aides. We elected him. He brought on his aides, and he has an expectation of his aides. You are going to do the work that I set forth. This is why I love this guy in terms of his approach to management. I'm not talking about his president. I'm talking about as a leader. A leader comes in, he picks his team, and he says, this is how we're going to play. And either think of it as 11 guys on a football field. and you got a receiver that keeps dropping the ball, or he doesn't know how to run his routes, or a center who can't get the ball to the quarterback, or a guard who doesn't know how to pull and block for the running back. And I could go on. You pick a team not because, oh, well, this team is going to do. This team has been picked. You're supposedly good. I believe in you. But if you drop the ball, if you don't know how to throw a block, if you keep getting penalties, I will bench you. But you know what the left, he's out there attacking his players. Really? So Obama, who didn't attack his players, let him get away with murder. And I'm not even joking. He just said, Hillary, go do what you want. Susan Rice, say this, and everything will be cool. John Kerry, Eric Holder, Loretta Lynch, it didn't matter. Y'all just do what you think. I'll never undermine you. You're all great. So what, you got people killed in Benghazi? So what, you got people killed running guns into Mexico? So what, you oppress citizens with the IRS? So what, you got veterans killed on waiting lists? I'm never going to talk bad about you. Now look, I have a rule that says I'm not going to talk bad about my team, in the sense that when we're building a team, I'm not going to talk bad about you, but I'll let you go. Now, Trump's rule is, no, I'm going to tell people what you're doing wrong in hopes that you fix it. I'm okay with that too. I would have no problem saying to my team, look, I'll bring you guys on because I think you're studs. If you make mistakes, we may have I'll have the first conversation in private. You keep making mistakes, I'm going to have a conversation publicly, because I can't fire you as a member, as easily in a public sector as I could in the private sector. But you're going to be gone. I would have no problem with that. See, that's the only difference. The difference here is Trump can't just arbitrarily fire people the way he used to do in the private sector. If you screwed up, he would just say, Sessions, you're out of here. Which I'll talk about Sessions and something that came up in a minute at CPAC. Because I've been hard on Sessions, and a guy called me, he says, Kevin, it isn't as bad as you think with Sessions. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, and he explained it. But I want to finish this topic. So this girl says the people that are working for Trump are going to leave the White House with no credibility. I scoff at that notion. I laugh at that notion. This woman must be on some of that Colorado wacky weed. The people that leave the White House are going to be rich. They have sacrificed their lives in order to write books, to talk about what they're going to do down the road. Let me tell you something. Being a part of this White House is a ticket to fame and fortune. You are part of the biggest historical movement ever. Outside of Tea Party stuff, look, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't want to make a nickel off of the Trump, stuff. I probably could have done it at this point. When I meet with President Trump, it will be to get something done. It won't be because I'm trying to, get my brand bigger or stuff like that. I see people doing it all the time. People that wouldn't even talk to me at CPAC thought they were so big and so bad. Anyway, when I come back, I want to talk about Sessions, but I also want to talk about Adam Schiff.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. The Democrats released their response to the Nunes memo, and essentially they validated what everything Nunes said. They validated that they didn't say that Hillary Clinton's campaign cheated, But they effectively said Hillary's campaign cheated, that the Democrats cheated, that the FISA judges that got the information were not told anything about how the information was gotten to. It was a completely illegal. The fruit, what do they call it? The rotten fruit of the tree, or the fruit of the rotten tree, or something like that. It was all faked. It was fabricated. There's no basis in it at all. Wow. Congratulations to us for learning what we already know. Hey, before we get into what Adam Schiff said, do you guys know, just out of curiosity, what AR stands for in AR-15? What do you think most people think? I mean, do you know? You know? What do you think it is? Assault rifle? Most people think it's assault rifle. It's not. It stands for Armalite rifle, which was the manufacturer of the original AR-15. And people think of it as assault rifle 15. It shoots a 223 shell, about the size of a 223 grain shell, and which is I had a 222 when I was a kid. I shot a 243 that was a deer. It would bring down a deer. You get, 222. They tell you don't hunt with that. A 223, that shell won't kill. Don't misunderstand me. It's enough to stop a guy. But sniper rifles and things like that, they don't use those kind. That's a chumpy rifle. An AR. I shoot AR-15s at 100 yards, and I'm sure it's probably got up to say 500 yards. It's probably okay. I would really like somebody that understands ballistics to say this, but you don't know for sure. But it's not a rifle that you're going to shoot at say half a mile or anything close to that. You know what a half a mile is? What? 1,760 yards. So half a mile is going to be half of that. So you're talking about, roughly 900 yards. An AR-15's a joke at that range. You could slap the bullet down. Bink! It probably isn't that bad. But you get what I'm saying. There are rifles that make this thing look completely what it is, which is benign. But it's an affordable weapon that you can deck out. Some people can have these things where they deck them out and they can cost $3,000, $4,000. But an AR-15, if you just go and you get normal stuff for it, it'll cost you well under $1,000. There are pistols that you can pay much more than for an AR-15. Just to put it in perspective. These people don't want the AR-15, they want your guns. Anyway, back to Adam Schiff. So, top Democrat in the House Intelligence Committee, and President Trump fired after the release of the report, which he saw. He goes, there's nothing to this report. It validates what Nunez says. This report shows that this is a joke. What we've been talking about here is a joke on this Russian investigation, and it should end. In fact, before we go even further, we have that clip of, I believe it's Jim Jordan, who, by the way, I saw at CPAC. Jim Jordan, representative, is discussing, he's hammering Mueller on the investigation of the IRS thing, and which, by the way, the Obama administration ended up clearing itself over the IRS scandal. We later find out it was a lie, but here's Mueller answering questions that Jim Jordan's asking of this investigation at the time.
How many agents, investigators you've assigned to the case?
May be able to do that, but I'd have to get back to you.
Can you tell me who the lead investigator is?
Off the top of my head, no.
This is the most important issue in front of the country the last 6 weeks. You don't know who's heading up the case? Who the lead investigator is?
At this juncture, no, I do not know who the...
Can you get that information to us? We'd like to know. We'd like to know how many people you've assigned to look into this situation.
I have not had a recent briefing on it. I had a briefing on it when we first initiated it, but I have not had a recent briefing as to where we are.
So you don't know who's leading the case?
I do not know who is the lead agent.
Do you know if you've talked to any of the victims? Have you talked to any of the groups who were targeted by their government? Have you met with any of the Tea Party folks since May 14th, 2013?
I don't know what the status of the interviews are by the team that's on it.
Would you expect that that's been done?
Certainly at some point in time in the course of the investigation will be done, but generally at the outside of the investigation you get the documents so that you can have a real...
But don't you normally talk to the victims?
I do not know specifically what is happening.
In your extensive record and history and investigative work, don't you typically talk to the victim? It's a criminal investigation. Don't you typically talk to the victims pretty soon?
I'm sure it will happen.
So did the FBI contact any of these same victims? Were they contacted by the FBI Prior to the investigation, when these same groups were applying for tax-exempt status, did the FBI pay some of these individuals a visit?
I do not know.
Pardon?
I do not know.
You don't know?
I do not know.
Some of them testified that they were paid a visit by the FBI. Specifically, Catherine Engelbrecht in Texas said she was visited by the FBI. She was head of True the Vote. Is that true or not?
Do not know.
As I said, guys, that's the guy who was running the FBI at the time when we were looking into the scandal involving the intimidation of groups that were, conservative groups trying to get tax-exempt status. Normal stuff. This is just normal day-to-day activities of following the rules of the game, which we don't see it as a game. We see it as exercising, rights so that we can make sure we hold our government accountable. And True the Vote, understanding where are the voter ID stuff, where's all this stuff coming from? Are they allowing illegals to vote? In order to stop us, they conspired with the FBI, with the IRS. It was all a big cabal, and we got wrapped up in it. And Mueller is going, I don't know. None of the investigative procedure, the procedural things that would happen in a normal investigation occurred. And Mueller's going, I don't know. He's not saying, I see where you're going, Representative Jordan. I see where you're going, Congressman. And you know what? You're exactly right. We're going to look into this. We're going to find it. They exonerated themselves. If we go back and look at Mueller's testimony in that, do you really think this guy can be fair? Look, I understand the jury's out. We don't know what's really happening here. We suspect that Mueller is a swamp rat. I think Mueller's a swamp rat. I think at this stage of the game, Mueller's looking for a way out that appeases both parties. That's what he's looking for. He's not looking for the truth. How sad is that? See, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know. I do know that Trump did nothing, but wherever the evidence would lead, I'm okay with where it goes. But I've seen where the evidence has led, and you know what? I haven't found anybody willing to do something about it. Which brings me to Sessions. I said I was going to talk about Sessions. So I met with a guy. Used to be with the NRA, worked for various presidents, I think in the Bush administration, and he says to me, Kevin, you've been hard on Sessions. I've been following your tweets, following your work. And I have been hard on Sessions because I'm saying to myself, this is a guy that's over the Department of Justice. He could have easily said, you know what? We got enough evidence here. We're going to get a special counsel and we're going to start looking into the, uranium one. We're going to start a similar investigation. It's now going to take a different direction in terms of Russian interference, and it's going to be targeted at Hillary Clinton and Obama, his administration, Susan Rice, etc. He's got 3 or 4 things he could open up right now, and I know you guys are asking because I'm getting your notes. Kevin, what's going on here, man? And I'm going, I'm trying to figure this out myself. And a guy said to me, this gentleman, he says, Kevin, Sessions is doing that. He's got 5 different investigations open. He goes, but he's actually done it smart. Now, I'm just going to kind of paraphrase what he said. And I think this one thing will kind of set the stage. He says he's got an open investigation into Uranium One. It originates in Arkansas. He says he hired, and I remember the article because I remember writing about this, Sessions getting somebody in Arkansas, a special prosecutor in Arkansas, to look into the allegations around the Uranium One. But he's not doing it in D.C. And the guy told me, he says, now ask yourself why that's not happening. And I thought about it and said, because he doesn't want it to be, the normal D.C. bureaucrats. He goes, bingo. Sessions isn't going through the normal channels because he knows he can't trust anybody there. That's why he did it in Arkansas. The Clintons have no friends there. He's using, I don't know who it is. Like I said, go look at the story. But there's an investigation that's been opened in Arkansas. So before we jump this guy, and I'm guilty of it myself, but this is one of these places where I tell people that I'm just as, I'm going to go after the people that I don't think are giving us justice, in this case, Sessions. But if it turns out that I'm wrong, then I'll be happy to admit it. Now, I'm not saying that I'm definitively wrong. I believe Sessions should have done something. But if he's smart enough not to play it by the book, because people know Washington a lot better than I do, congratulations to him. And maybe we should all be looking at what is the real potential impact here. But I will tell you, this guy certainly made me feel better after I thought about it.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.